Well, welcome to part 2 of the AC Mods Everything Bagel. I'm still at it. So, my next thing was figuring out window treatments after looking at the infrared camera footage. So, I found this stuff that's called Super Solar Windscreen, and it's meant for putting in your windows in your house as the screen. And it's supposed to reflect 90% of the UV rays and something else, heat anyways. So I'm gonna put this half over this window and half not over it. And then I also am going to put some reflective stuff in the inside, which you can see probably in this camera. But I'm gonna only cover the middle half of the window so that this quarter of the window has only this stuff, and then the next quarter has this stuff and the reflective stuff, and then the next quarter has just the reflective stuff, and then the next quarter has nothing. And then I'm going to close the shade halfway, and I'm going to look through it at the infrared camera, and I'm going to see how effective it actually is, and see if one of these makes a huge difference and the other one doesn't, or maybe neither of them do. I don't know. About to find out. This is fascinating. You can pretty clearly see that the right side of the window with nothing covering it is the hottest at 30 degrees Celsius, and the coldest part of the window is the part that has the solar screen and the Reflectex. But ironically, the paper sticker on the Reflectex seems to make it not as efficient, which is interesting. And even behind the shade up top, it's definitely not as hot. But still, the best spot is down there on the bottom left, which tells me that it is definitely worth it to use both. You can see the line right down the middle of the Reflectex where the solar screen ends. I think that's pretty fascinating. It tells me it's actually really doing something. So now I guess I need to build out screens for every window, all 12. That's going to be fun. And cut out some Reflectex pieces and figure out a good way to mount those in the inside. And then get some solar window tint put in, and I might have some pretty efficient windows, looks of it. But this has been just absolutely fascinating. The outside view is equally as interesting. You can see the window leaking on the left, and you can see that the heat is stopping at that solar screen, which I was honestly not expecting it to be that effective, but it really seems to be. So I think this is pretty conclusive that I can get to work. This has become my new favorite place to lay in the entire world. Both these vents are blowing air that's at like 3-4 degrees Celsius right on you, and it's a nice comfortable bed, and that window is really letting the heat in. So I ordered plugs for those that are insulated and reflective, and I'm interested to see how effective they're going to be. I've also got a hot spot over there, which tells me that there's insulation missing. And then you can see where the roof beam is. And I also have this offender. The wall is actually leaking quite a bit of heat above the slide. And that is fascinating. I don't know if there's a whole lot I can do about that, but it's good to know. It's actually worse than the slide itself. The slide itself has the typical hot corners, what you would expect. But it'll be interesting to get the screens and the reflectors installed in these windows and then see what it looks like, and get the plug in that, and then see if my air conditioner keeps up a little better. Alright, with that infrared camera footage being so convincing, I actually got the Reflectex at Home Depot, so I was able to go ahead today and cut out pieces that fit in every window, and got every single window done. And I learned that my RV has a lot of windows. It's like 14 in total. It's kind of crazy. I even did the doors, but those I didn't do quite so overlapping. Now I'm going to take a look at the infrared footage, and I'm going to see what it looks like. And I think I know what to expect because I did that little experiment previously, and I don't have any solar screen on the outside, so I don't expect it to be perfect, but I expect it to be better. I got that one done. And then I also found that you can buy pre-made reflective insulated boots for these things. So I ordered some, and when they get here, I can't wait to look at those through the infrared, because I think those will be pretty nice. They're 3 inches of insulation and then reflective on top, and then the bottom's like a plush material. And I've got 5 of those things in the RV. One of them's in the garage, so I'm not worrying about that one right away. But it's currently 90 degrees outside, and the air conditioning is keeping it at 72 degrees in here, so it's comfortable, and I'm pretty happy with that. But we're gonna try to do better. Alright, I'm back laying in my favorite spot. I stuck a piece of that reflectives up in there just to see if it made any difference, and it actually kind of does. So I think when I get the fitted ones I ordered, it'll work really, really well. I got air coming out of my ducts at 6 degrees and about 5 degrees, and there's a hot spot in the ceiling right there where there must be a lack of insulation or something. But at this point, I just have the reflectives in the windows, and I'm kind of shocked how much of a difference it makes. The window doesn't glow anymore, just kind of the edges do. So that's got to result in a lot less BTUs. That's the one the sun's currently shining on, and it's still warm, but it's better than it was. I can't wait to get the solar screen on the outside and then see, but for now I'm pretty impressed. When they come down here, same story. The windows, the edges are glowing still, which I think the solar screen will help with quite a bit, because it will go over the edge of the windows all the way covering them. But yeah, that's not a bad difference. That one up here, that's actually fairly effective. The edge is pretty hot, but you know, it is 90 something degrees outside. And the window in the bunk, I'm pretty tickled. I think it's a heck of an improvement. Now we got to get these things, and the sun's not actually shining that bright right now, so those aren't that hot. They were showing 50 degrees an hour ago when the sun was shining bright, but I'll take the... Alright, this one's still at about 40. Then I'm learning that my lights run kind of hot over here. 150 degrees? Yeah, we might need to get some LED bulbs for that. That's kind of crazy. my hand up there, I can actually feel the heat coming off of them. And then I've got these ones, which are LEDs, and they're still at like 70. And I can feel the heat coming off those too. It's actually kind of incredible. So that's where I'm at with the reflective, and I'm starting to learn more because as I fix stuff, other stuff starts to stand out. I see that this door doesn't have a very good seal on it at all. And that's a pretty easy fix. You can buy weather stripping stuff all day long. I haven't achieved the ultimate everything bagel AC modification on this RV yet, but I'm getting there. Alright, after 3 days in a row of it being almost 100 degrees and this thing not freezing up, I am very confident I don't have to buy a new one. So I'm going to go ahead and see what I can do about insulating that cold box. First, I want to take a look at it and see what it looks like under the infrared. Alright, this is amazing. Just fascinating. But I ain't doing it today because it's 100 degrees out. I will do it the next weekend early in the morning. Alright, at this point I've got most of my list done. I've got 4 things I haven't finished. 5, I guess. 2 of them are overload protection and insulating the cold box, both of which require being on the roof, and I don't want to do that right now because it's really hot, so I'm going to do those on the weekend first thing in the morning. And then I'm going to tint the windows with ceramic tint, and I'm going to make solar shades out of solar screens for the outside of the windows. I am waiting on my wife for the solar shades because it's a sewing project and I don't know how to sew, and I'm waiting on the window tint to get delivered. But my new sensor for my anemometer got here, so I can get back to balancing my vents and getting that plenum finished. So hopefully in the next day I'm going to have only 2 things left, which is going to be the window tint and the solar shades. So I'm going to get my anemometer and get the vent covers off, and we're going to start balancing. One thing I will call out at this point is that it's 70 degrees in here and it is 95 degrees outside. So the mods I've done so far are working fantastic, and I think most people would probably be happy with it how it is right now, but I'm not done yet. And just a little recap of the things that I think are making the biggest difference. I got these insulated covers for the vents, which are huge. I put in a MERV 12 20 by 20 by 4 filter, and I did Reflectex on all the windows, so it's a little like a cave in here right now, and it's really dark, but it's really comfortable. I'm hoping after getting the windows tinted and getting the sunshades, I won't need the Reflectex in the windows unless the sun is shining directly on those windows, but time will tell. And yeah, I'll do a little recap video probably when I'm all done, but for now, back to balancing vents. Alright, I got my vents measured with my anemometer, my new sensor, and this time I'm taking a little different approach. You can see I measured the meters per second flowing through it. And since I know the area of the hole it's going through, it's actually possible to calculate the volume, meters cubed per hour, of air flowing for each vent. And so I have on vent 1, 44.4, on vent 2, 47, 3, 33, 4, 38, 5, 33.8, and 6, 43.99. My finger's messing with the focus. And then I took the average of that flow, which is 40, and I looked at what percentage of average each vent was flowing. So now I have vent 1's flowing 110, vent 2 117. Those are the only two vents that go forward, so they're getting still slightly more air on average than the vent that goes the other way to these other four, which I can try to address with the plenum a little bit, but it's not too bad at this point. I mean, everything's within 20% of average, so I think I will cut another millimeter off the baffle in vent 1 and see if I can balance these two a little closer. If I overdo it and they're further off, I'm going to be really upset. And then we've got vent 3, 4, and 5, which are the three that go this way. And I'm sitting at 82.7%, 95.2%, and 84.2%. So I think I might cut the baffle down in 4 a millimeter as well, and then remeasure. Vent 6 is the one that's in the bathroom that I split, and it's still getting 109% of the average flow. So I think I need to move that baffle over even a little bit more, which is crazy to me because it's just a sliver at this point. It's just the way that the fluid dynamics are working. So I think my next modifications are going to be trim vent 2's baffle by 1 millimeter, and I'm going to trim vent 4's baffle by 1 millimeter, and I'm going to adjust the baffle for this one, and I'm going to see if I can't get a little bit more airflow in the plenum. And then I'll remeasure. So I'm getting to it. Alright, I got that thing moved over to where it's just like a finger width. We'll see how much flow that bathroom one gets now. And I also cut the plenum quite a bit steeper right here. I'm hoping that scoops more air into this long side, and we'll see how close it gets me. So, time to reinstall everything. Alright, made those adjustments and redid my measurements, and they came out pretty darn good. I'm flowing an average of 44.25 meters cubed per hour from each vent, a total of 265.53 per hour, which is awesome because the fan is only rated at like 312, so that's a pretty good loss. I'm happy with that. And then all of my vents are flowing, let's see, 102%, 114, 99, 94, 83, and 105% of the average. The one that's at 83 is the one that's up over the bunk, which is a really small area, and it's actually doing just fine with that amount of flow up there. So I'm happy with that. bathroom fan, even with that little sliver, is still flowing more than the average by 105%, but it has a lever on it where you can close it off a little bit, so I'm okay with that. And then this one is still flowing more than that one, but those are both just over the master bed, so I'm pretty happy with that. I think I'm going to quit messing with it. So I think opening up that plenum like I did just allowed a little bit more total airflow, which is awesome. And yeah, I think it's time to figure out how to glue that plenum together and get it finished and installed for like good. I could not be happier with these numbers. Alright, I'm gluing this thing together and really stinks in here. Found this 3M Super 77 at Home Depot that seems to glue this stuff together really good and doesn't seem to break it down. But I tested it first because I've seen some videos of people gluing this EPS together and whatever glue they used just melted it. And I've got hours and hours and hours into this thing, so I wanted to make really sure it wasn't going to melt. And I'm waiting for this final layer of glue to dry. And once it tacks up, I can put it on, put some weight on it, and let it dry overnight. And tomorrow I can work on sanding it and getting it in a finished state. And there she is, getting squished. So tomorrow I can peel off that paper that's probably going to be glued to it and hopefully have a solid plenum for a change. And then I can figure out how to finish it and permanently install it. Alright, it's morning time. The sun's just coming up. It's nice out. And I'm on the roof once again. So today, I'm hoping to be done with being on the roof because I don't like being up here. But you can see the previous owner deleted the thermal protection, which tells me it went bad. You can see by the way that red wire is bent around like that. It's not what it's supposed to look like. So I'm going to get one of those installed. And then I'm going to insulate this cold box. And since you can see daylight through it, I'm going to add a couple more screws to it as well. Just see if I can seal it up just ever so slightly better. And then I'm going to build some kind of a insulation for it. And I've seen people do all kinds of crazy crap on YouTube for this, and I'm not really sure exactly what I'm going to do, but I'll figure something out. So, time to get to it before it gets too hot. Alright, here's what I managed to do. I created a box out of EPS foam, and it just slides onto here, so I can just pull it off to do maintenance, like clean my stuff in the future, and then slide it back on. And it's hard to do one-handed. There we go. And it fits under the shroud, and I can't wait to look at it under the infrared from the bottom side, but I'm also going to look at it from the infrared on this side because I'm kind of curious to see what it looks like. Alright, so you can definitely tell that the compressor gets hot, like 70 degrees hot, ouch. You can see the heat there, but that insulation box is heating up pretty good in the sun. I don't know that this is really telling me anything, but it is kind of fascinating. The AC just turned off, so this is what it's like when it turns off. And the real interesting thing will be seeing it from the inside, but for now I'm going to get this cover back on, and I'm not going to come back up here until something else breaks or until I clean it next year. Alright, my new plenum is all glued together, and it's a pretty solid chunk. It fits in there nice and tight, so I don't think I need to put any seals on these ends because they literally push up tight. I was originally going to sand this all flat, but it's already flowing good enough. Nobody's ever going to see it. I think I'll just call it good. And then you can see that this presses up fairly tightly against the roof as well, but I am going to find some kind of weather stripping, I think, to seal this off. And then when I get it up in there, I think I will tape it in just for good measure. So I'm off to get some thin weather stripping and we'll get this thing installed and cross some stuff off the list. Alright, here's what I found. Right here I got this sponge window seal. It was about the right thickness and it's nice and firm. And then around here I got this Auto Marine weather rubber seal, and it's really spun, like you can really compress it down. So I'm just going to get it installed and wrap this little project up. Alright, it's all installed. I got the edges taped. It is there for good. Only thing left to do is see if we can see some daylight, which I cannot. So my cold box insulation is at least keeping the daylight out. Let's take a look under the infrared and see what it looks like before we put this air filter back in. Alright. Oh, here he is. It's colder. That is a huge success. If anybody has an idea I'm very happy with that. And I'm very happy with how everything else is looking. My lights are the hottest thing in the room now, not the windows. So I guess it's time to clean tools up, and only thing left now is not air conditioning stuff. I think I can officially call this the kitchen, or not kitchen, the Everything Bagel RV AC modification. I've done it all. And a great way to end this video. It is 95 degrees outside and 70 degrees in my camper. And I'm very, very comfortable. And I get to go through my checklist and I get to say, you know what? The plenum fix is done. I've balanced the vents. I insulated my cold box, and I installed overload protection. So the only thing on this list not done is tinting the windows with ceramic tint and making solar shades for the outside of the windows, neither of which are truly AC modifications. They're more like just RV modifications, along with like window treatments and that kind of thing. And I think I might do a whole separate video on that. So this one is a wrap, and that is everything I've done. Quick overview. I fixed leaks in the vents, so I'm getting tons of airflow, as you saw in the spreadsheet. I did a plenum fix, which is getting the air split from the dump into the vents. I balanced the vents, which was a lot of baffles and whatnot. I installed a 20 by 20 by 4 MERV 12 filter. I insulated the cold pipe and the cold box up on the roof. I improved the hot side airflow by cutting out the cover that didn't vent and installing better flow. I cleaned the coils. I got insulators for the RV vents, which are those things. I installed overload protection. I replaced my run capacitor. I added a start booster capacitor. I replaced the antifreeze thermistor, and I made Reflectex window shades for every window, which are currently installed, and they're really, really effective. And I went from having an air conditioner that didn't even work to one that's working really, really well. I'm pretty happy.